Where I think we get really mixed up is in the human construct that we live in, sovereign beings are seen as rulers over. This is why I fundamentally disagree with much of what churches in general teach, and definitely like my Catholic upbringing. But here's where I think that as spiritual students, where I suspect, and I know this is true for me, where we may have been getting caught up on being able to truly see ourselves as a sovereign being. Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast, where we talk about manifestation, money, and practical guidance to creating your dream reality. My name is Amy Van Meel, and I am an experienced coach and transformation guide, obsessed with helping you get out of your own way and create a life that blows your mind each day you wake up. My goal in this podcast is to share practical manifestation, self-awareness, and growth techniques in real talk conversations. So if you're ready to massively transform your reality, your finances, your relationships, and your overall enjoyment of life, you are in the right place. I am absolutely delighted that you're here with me today, babe. Let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Manifesting Millions podcast. We are going to dive straight into today. I am fresh off of a lovely meditation that I am learning at the hands of Jim Fortin called Workshop of the Mind. Really loving this space. And there were some really amazing awarenesses and realizations that came through as a result of today's session, my first of three. So I want to go right into it. I am a little bit not in the headspace of podcasts because I'm straight up half in my workout clothes, half of my jammies. It's Monday. I'm supposed to be off doing my workout right now, but I wanted to bring this through while this was fresh. Which means it may come out a little jumbled, and I am trusting that the universe is going to just clearly communicate through me, and you are going to hear exactly what you need to hear. So there's two really big things that came through. I want to talk about one of them today, and that is this: the idea of the sovereign, of being a god. So I'm going to do my best to clarify this. I know I've talked about this in the podcast. There are countless spiritual teachers who teach about that we as a soul are from source, right? That we are made of the same, we are a piece of the same source of creation. I don't know how else to say without saying source in there. The same source of creation, much like if you were to imagine that you were to take an eyedropper and dip it in the ocean and pull some water out, and then take that eyedropper and push that water into a little vial, that water is still of the ocean. It's just not in the ocean. So in a similar way, we as soul beings are still of the greater cosmic source. We are not separate from source, even if we are, popped in the source eyedropper into our human bodies. So we talk about, I've heard people talk about the human experience. I know I've certainly talked about the metaphor of your body as a rental car, right? But here's where I want to get into. So the idea of us as a sovereign being. Where I think we get really mixed up is in the human construct that we live in, sovereign beings are seen as rulers over, right? Think about any TV show, movie, piece of history. Check out pretty much any king, queen sort of quote sovereign nation that exists even in the world today. And the perception, idea, sort of framework of that system is a person who rules over other people. This was certainly much more true, I think, in historical times. That was a weird way to say that. But like history definitely shows us that there was this sense of I'm better because I am a sovereign. I was chosen by God, which I mean, let's be real. All of us know is just bullshit because basically whoever is like the sovereign of a country just is the most recent family to have murdered or obliterated whoever was leading the country before. Um, and yes, I realize that as a Canadian, we are a sovereign nation and we belong to the Commonwealth of, um, Great Britain. And I'm supposed to like have this like sovereign king and shit. However, I fundamentally disagree with this idea, and I have my whole life, this idea that A, we as humans need to submit, that there is rulership over us. I'm going to really go out on a limb and potentially piss off anybody who's like really feeling religious that might be in my circle and say, this is why I fundamentally disagree with much of what churches in general teach, and definitely like my Catholic upbringing, because the if you really pay attention to the words that you are repeating, so I know for those of you who are not familiar with like a Catholic mass, there is a lot of just repetition, right? Rote repetition of prayers and sayings and things like that. When I actually started paying attention to the words, it is very much an indoctrination that we are sinners. We need saving. We have no power ourselves. We need to submit to something, quote, greater than us. And like, if we're good enough, then hopefully we'll actually get our savingness. Completely disagree with that. But here's where I think that as spiritual students, where I suspect, and I know this is true for me, where we may have been getting caught up on being able to truly see ourselves as a sovereign being. So let's get into it. What is actually happening? What is actually happening is that as a sovereign being, as a soul that is here, that is connected all the time to source, we get disconnected in our humanness. And definitely we are socialized so hard to be disconnected from our true inner source of power. Because let's be real, if you truly understood how powerful and just naturally, what's the word I'm looking for? Like able to create your own life that you were, then you would not be willing to submit to these old gross structures, right? Like the patriarchy wouldn't be able to exist if we truly understood our innate power and actually fully embodied it. There's lots of them, and we can get into like all kinds of stuff. We're not going to go down that route, but I just want you to understand the unevolved, power hungry, very base human structures that have seemed to succeed over the last however many thousands of years exist as a result of ensuring that they have indoctrinated every human that has come into creation from birth to believe that they are unworthy, they are unpowerful, and that they deserve nothing. That's literally how they stay in power. What happens though is that now we're in this part of like much of the, I'll call it unrest in the world that's happening right now, is that there is a big portion of the world, and if you are attracted to my work, you are part of this portion that is in a big awakening. There is a massive awakening happening. The blinders are starting to come off. We are starting to see just how disconnected from our true selves we have been. It has been going on for many thousands of years, and there is a big groundswell of souls saying, "Nuh-uh, that's enough. That's not how we create harmony. It's not how the world is not a zero-sum game. Our resources are not a zero-sum game. Like there's just, right? There's this massive awakening. But if you are a person who is in your base old school gross programming that believes that you need to be a ruler over other people in order to have your power, in order to have your status, in order to have your like whatever dreams that you want to have come true, then this is by its very nature going to be extremely unsettling to you, right? I mean, think about like at the risk of cracking open like a really unfun topic, think about what I would imagine slave owners who believed in the system of slavery must have thought and felt when the power structure of this ownership of humans, which we all know is fundamentally wrong, was starting to break away. That all of a sudden they had all of this wealth and freedom and call it luxury at the hands of really standing on other humans and keeping them down and keeping them disconnected from their power. To then see those humans and see other humans around reaching out their hands and saying, this is not okay. This is not moral. This is not how we are meant to exist. You are not the property of another human. To watch that and then kind of look at like, well, oh my God, like, but this is literally how I've built my life. You could imagine how terrifying that would be. I am not saying this. Please don't write me hate mail of like, hey, Amy feels bad for slave owners. No. What I want you to understand by stepping into that framework for just a moment is to be able to see why there is so much unrest. Because the old power structures that exist in as how do I say it? Exist through their ability to convince you that you have no power. And that's not happening anymore. So let me come back to the sovereign being. There are lots of spiritual teachers, and I've been really like learning into this and expanding into this, and I haven't talked about it a ton because I'm still very much in the I'll call it like earlier stages of awareness and integration of this learning. But a lot of spiritual teachers talk about the fact that we are of source, we are God. Okay? We have the exact same ability and power of creation available in us at all times as literally like God does, because that's what we are. We're drops of the ocean. We're not separate from them. We just are like popped into our human containments, right? But we still have the full access and the fullness of this power available to us when we remember. Now, what I've been, I think, internally kind of wrestling with is this idea of being the sovereign. So first of all, seeing ourselves as the sovereign or as God, I very, very rarely use the word God because coming back again to my Catholic upbringing, I really struggle with what that specific word represents. I suspect that over time that may dissolve and disseminate, and that will be fine. But for now, I don't use that word because, again, it's seen as this male, power-hungry, vengeful thing that like I need to somehow like beg up to, and I'm 0% interested in that. However, when I've heard people teach of like, well, we are sovereign beings, I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? They're like, well, you have sovereignty over your life. I'm like, okay, but like, what does that mean? And today, this is the awareness that dropped through. We have been, what has been modeled for us is that a sovereign person is a ruler over other people, that a sovereign is to be submitted to, that a sovereign has more power than we do. But here's the thing, and I want you to play with this a little bit this week. You are a sovereign being. You are of source. You have all the power of creation in you. That does not mean that you are a ruler over other people. What I suspect, I have these little like wisps of learnings of history that tweak through my brain every now and again. My understanding of what I'm going to use the word sovereign because I want to tie it together with everything. But my understanding of what a sovereign was intended to be way in the way back before we got all gross, yucky, toxic man energy into it. And it's not to say that like women did this before and they did it amazing and then men came along and fucked it all up. It could have been both. But definitely what we're seeing right now is very like gross masculine energy. When we talk about the feminine and masculine, I digress. I'm like, I don't want to be like I'm hating on guys because that's not it at all. It's the imbalance of energies. So what we have been modeled is this gross masculine approach, right? Completely out of balance, completely out of whack. But my understanding, when a sovereign, a leader was originally in place, they were the steward of the resources. If you think about a collective group of people, pick any group of people, there needs to be someone, or maybe like a few someones. It can't be like a giant group, but a few someones that are there to oversee the entire system of that group and do their level best to ensure that resources, and which includes like everything from like your food, your housing, call it your power, your health, like people's skills, people's abilities, like what does the group need to steward that, to ensure that the group had a balance of resources, and some like sort of, I suppose, like a similar vision to move towards. But that got popped out of whack. So when that happened, things got all kinds of fucked up. And we're living in the result of things getting all kinds of fucked up. So when we see being a sovereign being as someone who has rulership over, we've completely missed the point. And this is what I want you to see today. A sovereign is a steward. When we think about stewardship is really about responsibility, honoring, respect, and guidance. It's not about ruling over. It is about working with. It is about giving direction, giving vision. And what I want you to start to play with in this next week is, as the sovereign being who is the steward of your life, are you being a good steward? Are you using and directing and giving a clear vision for the resources of your life? Or have you been stuck in this old think that you need to rule over and force and drive and like sort of, gross action your way through everything? Because the truth is, I think when we learn how to, and I suspect that this will be a lifelong lesson. I don't think any of us are going to learn this overnight. I know none of us are going to learn this overnight. And I know for sure that even for myself, as these lessons and awarenesses crack open, there's going to be a deeper and a broader and a wider level that I'll be continually expanding into. So what I want you to start playing with is you as a sovereign being, meaning you are of source. You have the exact same creator ability as whatever you view as God, universe, source, Allah, whatever like your version of like a divine being is, or divine creation is. That power literally exists within you. It's hard for us, I think, in our humanness to understand that. And because we've been so deeply socialized to not believe in our power and then to dismiss, oh my gosh, if I were like the ruler of a country, I feel like it'd be like the country of dismissing myself. Because like, holy shit, am I good at doing that? Like, that is literally a habit that I'm in the process of breaking. To go, no. I don't get to dismiss this stuff. It's not okay for me to do this. Like, what kind of garbage is that? I know why I have it. It's something that I learned, which means it's also something that I can unlearn. If you're struggling with, that sort of same lesson in your life and you want to work through it together, book some coaching with me. We can absolutely work on that. But when I think about like the fullness of my life, I've been misunderstanding, thinking I need to force, I need to rule over, I need to like really kind of step in there and like shape with my hands, but in this gross forcing kind of like trying to bend metal kind of way. When really, as the sovereign, as someone who has innate stewardship, I don't have to ask for it. I don't have to beg for it. I don't have to qualify for it. I am a soul who was poured into my human body. This human body belongs to me, the soul of Amy, completely. I know that our society doesn't want us to believe that as women, but like, it belongs to me, which means so many things. But in the context of today, before I like follow down another rabbit trail, in the context of today, it means that I, Amy the Sovereign, have full stewardship over the physical container that is my body and the experience that is my life. I am the steward of my life. I am not a servant of it. I am not a ruler over it. I am not subject to it. I am the steward of it. It is my responsibility as the sovereign soul that I am to give my life vision, to give it direction, to call in resources, to recognize the resources available for me, and to move my life in that way. So I want you to play with this. I know that today you might want to like listen to this 2 or 3 times to have the wisdom download in and begin to integrate. I don't often say listen to an episode 2 or 3 times, but definitely this is one that I think, and I'll probably listen to it a couple times as well, to really integrate and begin to understand, or become at the beginning part of the understanding, I suppose, that you are a sovereign soul. And sovereignty does not mean rulership over. Sovereignty means stewardship of. All right, my loves, I'm going to leave it there. A reminder that if you would like to work together one-on-one, I have 2 coaching options available for you. We can do a 90-minute one-on-one session just as a one-off, which is great. And you'll get some really powerful shifts. And it's fantastic if you're working through some like work issues, if you're leading teams, if you want to really understand how to create some solutions. If you're creatively stuck, right? Whatever it is, you're like, fuck, I can't seem to figure this one out. And you want just a simple 90-minute session. The 90 minutes is great for those of you who are ready for a deeper shift, something that is super long lasting and will really help crack open the next level in your life. I have a 3-month coaching container, which is really powerful. The link for both is in the show notes. But if you go to amyvanmeal.com, you will find all of those. With that, thank you so much for listening. If you have not yet, please leave a review of the podcast. Definitely share this one out and let me know what you think. It's been amazing sharing with you. I am now officially heading off to go get my workout in because my laundry is waiting on me to have a shower so that I can get the towel into the laundry. So everything is sort of stalled while this was channeling through from me for you. All right, my loves, thank you so much for being here. I am excited to see you next week. Mwah. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform and help me reach more like-minded people who are ready to expand their life. If you haven't yet followed me on social media, find me on Instagram for extra love and inspiration by following @AmyVanMeal or visit my website at amyvanmeal.com. I love you so much, babe, and I am damn proud of you. I am already excited to connect in the next episode. And in the meantime, believe in yourself with the confidence of a 5-year-old.